And welcome to the presentation. My name is Yasin Gunes. I work at the Free University of Amsterdam as a data scientist, and I get to work on several several fun challenges, mostly in programming. And my friends do most of the bibliometrics and stuff. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to tell you about one of those issues which you might have already walked into or is on the road for you, and tell you something about how we solved it. And if you're interested in the details or in codes or a copy of the Python file or whatever, then you're welcome. So, as the title says, it says, help me, Scopus does not link my paper to my faculties. Well, if you ever have made a data analysis for someone at the university, for example, at your own university, usually it's not the director magnificus who you're talking to. Usually it's the head of a department or the head of a whole faculty, if it's a small faculty, eh? And, you know, they're mostly interested in their own faculty and in their own department. They're not looking into university. They have their own responsible area, and they're wondering, hey, how are my people doing? And if you have internal data, that's usually easy. You can filter on with a few clicks in the front end on the department of choice. The few uses Pure for this, and there it's 2 clicks, and I guess most repositories have that well done. But sometimes you have external data, either because you wanted to have some extra information you didn't have in your local repository, so you took in some third-party API or source, or you just wanted to use Scopus, but you wanted to use the Scopus which is fresh of that day, and it didn't actually pass through the curators and got into your local repo yet. Well, how are you going to filter it down to the department then? So you could try a number of routes, and I'm going to say in advance, none of these routes are perfect. So you could say, well, you know what? I'm just going to check on DUI. What I'm going to do is I'm going to my local repo, and I'm going to grab all the DUIs which belong to a faculty. And then I'm just going to go to my external source, and I'm going to search those DUIs only, and I'm not going to touch the rest. Or I'm going to download the data, and then I'm going to throw away the DUIs I don't see back. Well, the issue with that is, some faculties don't have that many DUIs, so theology immediately falls out of the boat, where most things don't have a DUI, and even if everything has a DUI, there are always a few things which don't have a DUI. Usually it's like 90% even in Scopus. So you could also try to back merge it, like you know what, I'm going to take the local repo anyway, and then I'm just trying to combine the papers back together. Well, that could work, but my intuition is that local repos generally have to be curated, so they have a small delay. If your project can have that, so it's about the previous year, that's no problem. But if you want to have like this flashy, blitzy data visualization, then it's harder to sell that the data is like half a year old, because I don't know, people fill it in right before Christmas every year. So it might even not be possible at all. So how could you solve it? Well, there are a number of ways, but the way we use, and which we are happy to share extra information about if you're interested, is we made something which grabs it from the affiliation info. I'm pretty sure I misspelled affiliation, but never mind. So what people do is they write their names on every paper, and they always write something like, hey, this is my email, and this is where I work. At least in Scopus, you always have that, and people can write basically everything they want. So it's usually handwritten, so somebody ticked it in, and there was no drop-down menu, so it's different. And even for the free, we have a million different variants, like Free University of Amsterdam, Free University, Vrije Universiteit, Vrije University, Free Universiteit, and all possible combinations. They all occur, and half the time with spelling errors. which you wouldn't expect. But well, you know, people are in a rush, and if you're submitting a paper at the end of the day at the last deadline, you're not gonna. Well, I mean, a flaw is easily made. And the thing I'm most enthusiastic about was we managed to actually clean that up and extract some usable data from it using natural language processing, which is a tool you can use to make the computer understand handwritten human text, which is selection out of 4. It's like tapped in the computer, and that's what the computer gets. And to give you an example, for example, if somebody fills in free Amsterdam debt clue, which makes, I mean, as a human, it's already hard to understand. And you can say, well, probably clue is a clue for something. Well, that's the name of the department, sorry, the institute, Clue Plus. But for the computer, it's insanely hard because, I mean, it doesn't exactly match with anything. But using natural language processing, you can say, well, I see free in Amsterdam all the time, and it doesn't really help me get the department or faculty or institute, so toss it out. And that leaves me with clue, and then I just grab clue, and then I look at the organogram, which with all the not all the universities, for our university, all the departments and faculties, and it says, hey, look, I have a match. There's this other thing, which is which has a really long name, but I see clue in it. Then they can match it, and then the paper is correctly sorted at clue. And this is nice because then it won't be as good as with curators, of course, but you're able to grab fresh data from Scopus, and without having to wait for the local repo to catch up, you can just immediately filter down on your department of choice, which is not possible through the Scopus front end. So I'm really happy with that. And I'm especially happy that if they ask for visualizations, we can, with recent data, that we can actually come and serve them, and we don't have to bounce them back with the story that they should have updated their local repo. Yes, well, yes, of course, but how can we help them? That should be the real goal, not to bounce as effectively as possible. So I was really happy with this tool, and I just wanted to share with you that you can get some stuff done with text processing, and if you're interested or if you have questions, then you can fire them now or through Peter, get it in a mail. And that's all for my presentation. And thank you for your listening.
Thank you, Yasin. I have actually a question of my own. Can you say something, or is it possible to measure the success of your of this program with some numbers like precision and recall, or is it hard?
Yeah, so you can do two things. You can try to put a number on how confident the algorithm is that clue is actually clue plus, and for that you have a number of metrics. So you can you can easily compute scores for that. We already do that. So you get scores like 80%, 90%. And you get scores like 20%, 30%. And then what we usually do is we just look with an expert bibliometrician, like my colleague Jordi Gevers, and we look at it and we sort it on score, and then we see that after 80%, a lot of garbage comes in. So we just throw that out. And then that's a way to, so it is possible for every single prediction that the machine makes, you can always put a tag on it with how confident the machine is. It doesn't mean it's correct, but it's confident. You can always. And the other thing is to compute precision and recall, and for that you just have to toss in 100 papers and then go through them by hand as well, and then you can see how accurate it is. Like I don't know, like you found. You take like 100 papers and you say this belongs to this, this belongs to this, and then the machine does it, and then you just check how often the machine is correct.
Yeah, thank you.
The expert bibliometrician is then the ground truth. That's usually more than good enough.
We have also another question from Martin Schultz. Do you have somewhere a description of the tool you use here, and is it in open source?
Yeah, it was open source for a long while. And and then we retracted it because it was intermingled with some other things which we wanted to keep for ourselves for a while. But it's there. So if you just send me an email address, I can send the code to. I can get an okay from my supervisor and just mail you the Python file. That's not so it's not a secret at all.
Okay, so we will make sure that Martin can send you a mail.
Yeah. Yeah, which Martin? He must have a surname, right?
Martin Schultz.
Okay.
You can see it in the chat window. Thank you for this presentation.
You're welcome. Thank you. I enjoyed it.